What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here to take a look at Stokastic's MLB DFS Lineup Generator. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. I'm going to be looking at lineups here for both DraftKings and FanDuel, and of course, every lineup that I look at here is going to be a plus EV lineup. All of the bad lineups that have been run through the sims, the ones that have been found to be negative EV, have been vetted out. They're not going to be showing up in lineup generator. You're only going to get the good lineups, the best lineups, the ones that have been found to be plus EV. They're going to win money long term if you use these lineups. Of course, you can get Lineup Generator still for 50% off your first week if you use the link that I'm putting into this tweet, or if you use the link in the description of this video. If you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be just $4.48 for your first week. After that, it's just going to be $8.95. So great deal for a tool that only gives you good lineups. All right, I'm going to start by taking a look at some DraftKings lineups. I'm going to do all stack types. I'm going to do all lineups, and I'm not going to lock in any players. All right, so first lineup we see here, Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander getting vintage with the pitchers. Verlander at just 6% ownership, Kershaw 24%. Then we have a 4-4 Reds and Guardians stack here. Let's start by looking how the pitchers look in the top pitchers to us. We have Kershaw and Verlander. Kershaw, number 2 overall in terms of top 2 pitcher odds at 17%, 24% projected ownership. A little bit of negative leverage there, but again, with pitchers, we don't care quite so much. And then Verlander, 6% projected ownership, 9% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So we actually find some positive leverage there on Verlander, 10% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher as well. He's just 7,300. I can't remember the last time I saw Verlander's price this low. 7,300. The price is right there for Verlander. So those are our 2 pitchers, Kershaw, Verlander. Verlander, kind of middle of the pack in terms of top 2 pitcher odds, but again, positive leverage. Kershaw right at the top there. All right, and then the stacks, we have the Reds and the Guardians. Number 2 and 3 in terms of top stack odds. We have the Reds at 9% chance of being the top stack, Guardians at 8%. Both actually have some negative leverage here. So it's a fairly chalky stack. 2 of the higher owned stacks, actually the 2 highest owned stacks on the slate. Let's take a look at what the actual players look like, though. 8% Will Brennan, bringing down the ownership a little bit. 4% Miles Straw, bringing it down quite a bit. 6% Spencer Steer, 8% Tyler Stevenson. So even though we're playing 2 of the chalkiest stacks, we have parts of the stacks that get a little bit less ownership. That's really the more important thing in this one. 115% total ownership on this lineup, leaving a bit of salary on the table. Low owned Justin Verlander as well. So despite the fact that we're using 2 of the chalkier stacks, 2 of the stacks that are in the best spot, we're not using all of the chalkiest parts of the stacks, and you can still make a nice lineup with them. As you can see here, this is kind of in the middle in terms of whether it's chalky or contrarian. It's on the chalkier side, but just barely. Projects well. Of course, it's a good lineup. All right, I'm going to save that one. Second lineup is these same exact teams. We have the Guardians 5-man stack now, Reds 3-man stack. So last one was 4-4. This one is a 5-3 Guardians and Red stack. Now we're getting 6% Spencer Steer once again, 4% Miles Straw once again, bringing down the ownership quite a bit. This one does have higher ownership overall than the last one, leaving quite a bit of salary on the table here, though. That's kind of interesting, leaving over 3,000 on the table in this lineup. We got Ben Lively, 20% projected ownership, Clayton Kershaw at 24%. Kind of interesting to see this much salary being left on the table on a slate of this size. All right, let's see what Ben Lively looks like in the top pitchers. Yeah, 4th overall in terms of top 2 pitcher odds. So he's cheaper than Verlander, just barely. But much greater odds of being a top 2 pitcher. Looks good there. Again, a little bit of negative leverage, but 4th overall in terms of top 2 pitcher odds. One of the better pitchers on the board. All right, let's take a look at another lineup here. Now we've got a 5-man red stack with no secondary stack. We've got Will Smith as a one-off, Seiza Suzuki as a one-off, and then Esteury Ruiz as a one-off. So we've a number of one-offs here. We have low-owned Stuart Fairchild, 3% projected ownership, Suzuki at 8%. The lowest owned bats here, Kevin Newman at 9% after he hit a home run. If you were using the lineup generator yesterday, you're probably getting to a lot of Kevin Newman, and you're probably happy with that after seeing him hit the leadoff home run there. And kind of nice to see Ben Lively with the red stack here, a little bit of added correlation, because if the red stack does well, Ben Lively more likely to get that win. Good to see that there as well. Looks like a good lineup despite, higher ownership than the past couple, but also really not that high of ownership overall at 133%. All right, now I'm going to go through, save, 20 lineups, see what the exposures look like. All right, so just the first 20 lineups we look at, I had 65% Stephen Kwan, 55% Jose Ramirez, 50% Andre Jimenez, 50% Garrett Cole. So a lot of Guardians up here at the top in terms of ownership. If you made the mistake I did yesterday of trying to flatten your exposure a little bit, you lost some of that Kevin Newman. But I still think it's the right process. I'll probably do the same thing here with Stephen Kwan. Probably don't want 65%. I'd probably be inclined to go back, delete some of these Guardians lineups and go back and get some lineups that don't have the Guardians in them, which is easy enough to do. That would be my approach on DraftKings. Let's take a look at some FanDuel lineups as well. Once again, I'm going to do all stack types, all lineups. Not going to lock in any pitchers or any players. All right, now we have Johan Oviedo as the pitcher. Let's see where he looks on FanDuel in the top pitchers tool. Looks like he is 7th overall in top pitcher odds at 4.8% chance to be in the top pitcher on FanDuel. Getting a little bit of positive leverage at just 3% ownership. Looks good. And then the stacks here, we have a 4-man, what is this? 4-man Cardinals stack with a 3-man Diamondback secondary stack and Mookie Betts as a one-off. Wilson Contreras getting just 7% ownership. Jake McCarthy at 9%. Ketel Marte at 9%. So, no super low-owned bats, but a lot of pretty somewhat low-owned bats. So overall, not a terribly chalky lineup here, especially with Oviedo at just 3% ownership. Looks like a good lineup. Let's see where the stacks look here on FanDuel. Cardinals number 1 on the board, 10% chance of being the top stack. A little bit of positive leverage at 9% ownership. We also have the Diamondbacks, 5% chance of being the top stack. They look like they're 8th, 9th overall. Yeah, Diamondbacks look good here. Despite a little bit of negative leverage, still one of the top 10 in terms of top stack odds as well. Looks like a nice enough lineup. And then we have, of course, the Mookie Betts one-off. All right, I'm going to save that one. Now we've got Kershaw as the pitcher with a 4-man Guardian stack, 4-2-2 Guardians, Brewers, and Cardinals. Jordan Walker at just 6% ownership in this lineup. Kind of really the only low-owned bat. You can see here it's on the chalkier side of the spectrum. So this one, you're getting a lot of ownership there, but some good teams as well. The Guardians, who are in the top stacks tool, 3rd overall, and then we have the Cardinals and the Brewers. Cardinals again top of the board, and Brewers, yeah, right around 10th or so in terms of top stack odds. 5% chance of being the top stack on the board. So looks good. Kind of a chalkier lineup, but nothing too crazy. All right, now I'm just going to go through and save 20 lineups. All right, so now we have 65% Jose Ramirez, 55% Stephen Kwan, 50% Andre Jimenez. So really a lot of the same players we were getting on DraftKings. We're getting to a lot of on FanDuel as well. Ben Lively is the pitcher that we're getting into the most. That's kind of interesting at 8,000. Guess you need him to save a little bit of salary. But yeah, 40%, 45% Ben Lively, our most used pitcher here. Garrett Cole, 25%, number 2. Clayton Kershaw down to 15%. So sort of interesting to see that the pitching is a little bit more spread out. Of course, you can only use one pitcher on FanDuel, so you're going to get a little bit lower ownership in general. But yeah, surprising to me to see Ben Lively as our highest exposed pitcher. If I got to this lineup set, probably I do the same thing that I did on DraftKings, which is get rid of some of my Guardian stacks, probably go to find some other stacks. But again, that's just a matter of how much risk you want to take on in playing a ton of the same team. I tend to spread out my exposures a little bit. And more so the more lineups I play. If I'm playing 20 lineups, like I have been pretty frequently lately, I'm a little bit more inclined to play more of one team. So actually, I might accept these exposure levels, maybe just flatten out just a little bit. But if I'm playing, 150, I really spread it out quite a bit. So I try to get down below. Usually, I'm not playing more than like 30% of a bat of any of the bats in my lineups if I'm playing 150 set. But in a 20 set like we have here, this might be fine having 65% Jose Ramirez. Typically, I'm going to flatten it out a little bit, but really not too much. I don't mind having a lot of exposure to one team because it's not that much of a risk day today if I'm just playing the 20 max. Anyway, that is going to be my approach today, is using kind of flattening out those exposures just a little bit. Hopefully we can win some money. Hopefully you can win some money too using a similar approach. Again, if you haven't done so, please do like the video, and good luck tonight.